Formula One's new world champion is a man who has always attracted huge amounts of attention. From the moment he became the youngest ever driver to compete in an F1 race, aged just 17, to when he was controversially crowned the world champion. You would have to have been living under a rock these past 2 weeks to have not heard what happened in the final race of the 2021 F1 season. Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton level on points and heading into a winner-takes-all race. A feat that has only happened once before in the sport's 71-year history, when Emerson Fittipaldi and Clay Regazzoni entered the 1974 finale level. Hamilton had a very healthy lead with just 6 laps to go. However, following a crash further down the grid, the safety car was brought in. That was fine. But what was controversial was the decision to remove the safety car with just 1 lap remaining, with Hamilton's healthy lead now gone, allowing Max Verstappen the opportunity to overtake, win the race, and his first ever world championship. Williams driver Nicholas Latifi has apologised and said it was not his intention to play such a major role in deciding the outcome of the championship at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Verstappen's boss, Christian Horner, joked after the race he would make sure he got the Canadian driver a lifetime supply of Red Bull. Latifi said he had no idea how finely poised the title fight was out front and put the crash down to driver error. It was never my intention and I can only apologise for influencing and creating an opportunity, Latifi said. I made a mistake. He added, we were just really struggling for grip throughout the next sequence of corners, and especially where I ended up going off. I wasn't aware of the situation of the race up until then. Obviously, it was never my intention to inadvertently influence that, but I made a mistake, and I ruined my own race. And Latifi wasn't the only driver with something to say about the result. On Twitter, Hamilton's future teammate George Russell, who had retired from the race early, labelled the conclusion unacceptable. "This is unacceptable," Russell tweeted in all caps. Max is an absolutely fantastic driver who's had an incredible season, and I have nothing but huge respect for him. But what just happened is absolutely unacceptable. I cannot believe what we've just seen. Meanwhile, Daniel Ricciardo was also left in disbelief at what had happened. The McLaren driver actually finished 12th in the race, but inadvertently found himself behind Verstappen and Hamilton in the final race. He said to his team, "Cheers guys, I'm glad I'm not part of whatever just happened. It seemed pretty effed up. Thanks guys for the season." Race Control initially said that the lapped cars were not permitted to overtake, but then issued a message informing that the 5 drivers between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen could unlap themselves. That freed Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel, but Ricciardo, Lance Stroll and Mick Schumacher, the last remaining drivers, were not allowed to unlap themselves. Mercedes has protested the result of the race relating to Article 48.12 of the sporting regulations, after the last lap restart led to Verstappen passing Hamilton for the win and the title. The drivers who unlapped themselves, led by Lando Norris, did not make it around to the train in time for the restart, with Norris 51 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas. The trio who remained a lap down were effectively left outside of contention for points. At the end, it was kind of weird. They said cars can't pass the lapped cars, and then some of them did, but then I wasn't allowed to, said Ricciardo. We did a 1-lap restart. I'm sitting right behind Lewis and Max. Like, why am I here? I don't know. It was very interesting. Meanwhile, Lance Stroll said it was a tricky race today, and we were not able to benefit from the late safety car because we were not waved through the overtake, which was frustrating and I did not understand. It was a late chance to make up some places and potentially aim for points after we made the decision to pit again. Norris, who finished 7th, said, "I'm not too sure what was said by the FIA. At first, we weren't allowed to overtake. So if that influenced decisions and that's the reason my Mercedes didn't do the pit stop, but then FIA suddenly changed their minds and were allowed to let us past. Then, well, that's where I'm not sure. I'll say congrats to both drivers in terms of the decision. Yeah, for it to end like that, I'm not so sure." So I think it's fair to say that there has been plenty of confusion and even bemusement between the drivers. Former world champion Fernando Alonso believes Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton deserve the F1 Championship trophy to be split in two. Alonso has experience of last-round showdowns, with the Spaniard having won at the final race in 2006, lost out in 2007, 2010 and 2012. Alonso said of Verstappen's first title success, "He's a champion. It was a matter of time that he would win the trophy." I think today, he was lucky. Without the safety car, Lewis was world champion. And with the safety car, Max was world champion. So it's a pure luck thing what happened today. It's going to be a big topic, I guess, but if you take the 22 races, as I said on Thursday, any of the two could be world champion. I think more than any other year, if you could split the trophy in two, this was the year to do it because both of them were outstanding. Alonso also admitted that he felt sorry for Hamilton losing the championship. Lewis was driving at another level, especially in the second part of the championship. The Mercedes was the faster car, yes, but Valtteri Bottas was not second. It was Lewis putting out that performance. When you lose the championship because of the safety car in the last moment, for sure, you feel a little bit sorry. Four-time champion Sebastian Vettel, who won the title in the final round in 2010 and 2012, also had sympathy for Hamilton. "I'm happy for Max, but I'm mostly sorry for Lewis. I think he had an incredible end to the season. And to be honest, in my point of view, I don't care who wins, but I think they both deserve it. In the end, only one can take it." So yeah, it was an intense fight. Good for the sport. And you know, it's always obvious that if you're the lucky one, it's great. If you're not, it's not great. It's one of the most controversial championship wins in the history of the sport. In many years to come, when people talk about the 2021 champion, they will tell you the story of the final lap of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in 2021. Hamilton and Mercedes pushed hard to get the race result overturned, but to no avail. Toto Wolff has told the media that he doesn't think he'll get over the pain of Lewis Hamilton losing out on the championship. Wolff didn't speak to the media in the aftermath of the race, as Mercedes lodged a pair of protests against the outcome of the race, both of which were later dismissed by the stewards. But days later, Wolff revealed he was still in disbelief at the events of the race. "I would have been totally okay with Max and Red Bull winning the championship on Sunday. And this situation is nothing to do with Max. He's a worthy champion, his driving is exceptional, and Red Bull are fierce competitors, and I have the greatest respect for the people working there. So it has nothing to do with them. But I would have loved to sit here and avoided all these discussions." So Verstappen, who was always billed as a future world champion, has now achieved his promise. The questions now remain: what happens to his closest rival, Lewis Hamilton? Toto Wolff says that's still unclear. It's going to take a long time to digest what happened. "I don't think we'll ever get over it. That's not possible, and certainly not him as a driver. I would very much hope that Lewis continues racing, because he's the greatest driver of all time." And I think we speak for all F1 fans when we say we hope Hamilton continues to race, and this rivalry is just the beginning of one of the greatest to have ever graced the sport.